Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take this opportunity of a bit of a pause in the market environment to go through the charts from scratch. Everything you need to see, all of the levels you need to be watching, the trigger points on Bitcoin and on Ethereum, and an assessment on how Ethereum is doing in relation to the altcoin market and in relation to Bitcoin. Because of course it's been a Ethereum dominated market environment the last few weeks and actually months at this point, and that will change eventually. The question is when and how. So shouldn't take too long today, but it is an important video. If you want to know what to watch, if you want to know what's actually going on, I'll try to explain it today in full. Before we get into it, I'd really appreciate if you check out the Bitunix Exchange. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global. It's non-KYC. It's never been hacked before. It's got all of the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers. Plain and simple, Bitcoin is in an upwards trend. We've got higher highs, we've got higher lows. That is a textbook standard 101 upwards trend. It's been doing that for years. But if we want more depth, and we do need more depth, we need to understand that upwards trends on macro scales lasting years don't just spring up from nothing. It's come from the 4-year cycle fundamentally. Now, the 4-year cycle is adjacent to cycles like the presidential cycle theory, to things like the 18.6-year real estate economic cycle theory. These are things that have existed in traditional markets for decades on end that are very important and that come about due to macroeconomic shifts that happen in cyclical patterns. So the 4-year cycle is not just Bitcoin related, it's also related to traditional markets, but also it is Bitcoin related too, okay? It's based on charts as well. We have the umbrella trend here from a charting perspective, which encompasses many, many micro trends, and all of these micro trends come together to basically say that Bitcoin right now, ever since December 2022, has been in a bull market. And they also come together to say that Bitcoin will probably be in that bull market until around October this year, more or less. We are reaching that point. We're in August now, only 2 months away. And we can't be absolutely certain it's going to be October. It could be a little bit before, could be a little bit after. So actually, if we're being realistic, we are approaching top territory from a 4-year cycle perspective. If I had to guess, and if I was being true to the analysis and true to the data that I've stuck with for years on end at this point, I would say we've probably got more time to go. We've probably got some more steam in the engine here for various reasons. I don't quite think this top is in yet. I don't think we've seen any evidence to say the top is in yet. But what I will say is this, okay? When it comes to identifying a top, all we know about the top is that it's probably going to happen around late this year. We don't really know anything else. Now, if that ends up being wrong, it will be proven wrong by Bitcoin continuing into next year. If that ends up being correct, the only way we'll be able to tell whether it's correct or not is when we see Bitcoin actually drop. You can't really call the top at the exact top. You have to wait for the breakdown first to validate the fact that it actually was the top. And this is why looking into Bitcoin medium-term, short-term charts are so important at this phase in the cycle. We're entering the part of the cycle in which a top could become present, right? We're not quite there yet, but it's very, very close. And so we need to understand the levels that matter, because if we drop below a certain level in the price chart at any given time, that could be the top. We need to also understand the upside levels, because if we break above an upside level, that will indicate that we have more room to run. So with that said, let's get into the levels that matter for Bitcoin. Firstly, there was a very important line on Bitcoin that stems right backwards from 2017. It cuts across the 2021 highs, and it cuts across the highs we formed late last year and early this year. It also formed a little stronghold position that Bitcoin had for a couple of weeks here. We've recently dropped below that position, and we are now consolidating below it. That is a pretty dangerous position for Bitcoin to be in. However, it's not completely the end of the world, because we know this. We know that this line stems right backwards to 2017. It's hence a line that is basically 8 years old. It's a line that has been faked out above before back here in 2021, and therefore this could be a fake out. So what we're actually looking out for the downside break on Bitcoin is breaking below the nearest level below this line to confirm the fact that this was not a fake out and it actually was a breakdown. That's the bearish argument, and that level, in my view, for validation of a breakdown would be at around 110,000. maybe slightly below at 109,000, but somewhere in that $110,000 to $109,000 region, in my view on Bitcoin, is the level it needs to hold. If that level breaks, this becomes a bit more than a fake out. It becomes an actual breakdown from this very long-term white support line. And that would be a little bit detrimental, in my view, at this point in the market environment, given how close we are to a Bitcoin top with the 4-year cycle. It will definitely raise some eyebrows. So the downside level, in my view, is 110,000. As long as we are above 110,000, I'm not too concerned about Bitcoin. If we drop below 110,000, that's when I start to get a little bit concerned. But that wouldn't necessarily be the trigger of a bear market. It would just be the zone in which I personally would be de-risking the hell out of the market and waiting for further bullish confirmation, because I don't think that needs to happen at this part of the market cycle. I think that would be very, very strange. As for the upside level, we can't really look at it from a regular Bitcoin chart perspective. There's nothing up here. We've never been this high before. What we can do is we can look at alternative charts like this chart right here, which I've discussed many times on the YouTube channel. It's the logarithmic regression channel on Bitcoin that's based on angles. The angle from high to high, from bull market to bull market, and low to low, from bull market to bull market, halves each cycle. If that is extrapolated forward, we can see clear resistance on Bitcoin at the top of this channel, which has never broken before, at $124,000. That's exactly where Bitcoin rejected from on its retest up here in mid-July. We also see that externally validated and independently validated, I should say, using the power law chart on Bitcoin, an incredibly important Bitcoin chart. And you can see clear resistance from the green line on the power law chart, which has been rejected from on 3 major macro retests, sitting at $124,000 as well. So the upside level on Bitcoin is very clearly around $124,000, and it's doing something like this. It's gradually moving upwards, pretty much at the same angle of trajectory as this major line going backwards from 2017, which is actually quite interesting. So upside level on Bitcoin is this level right here at 124. Downside level is 110,000. Until one of those levels breaks, nothing's really changed. And I actually did a YouTube community poll, and I asked you guys basically, which level do you think will break first, and will that happen in the next 10 days? And most of you think, by the way, that in 10 days from now we'll still be ranging. And I think a lot of you guys, including myself actually, are very accustomed to Bitcoin being very boring for long periods of time. And that probably explains your answer there in terms of, you expect it to be ranging in 10 days on a generalized scale. Obviously, I'm not speaking for all of you, I'm speaking for the majority. But most people think we'll basically just be ranging for 10 days here. Now, I would have agreed with you in any other time of the cycle, because that's been the trend for Bitcoin. Bitcoin literally just goes sideways for months on end this cycle. It's very rarely in an aggressive upwards move. So the moves upwards have been very short-lived. So yeah, ranging is the best way to characterize this cycle, just drawn out consolidations. But we do actually have a limited amount of time left as per 4-year cycle. And so I do think that we don't really have much time left to just, go into another 6-month range. We don't. So it wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin makes moves here quite soon. We look at the short-term charts on Bitcoin and we see that actually reinforced. We see a downwards channel here on the short term, which could be a very bullish structure. And that's reassuring. It's reassuring because you don't necessarily always... sorry, not at all. You barely ever, I should say, break downwards from descending channels unless the market environment is very, very bad. Usually you break up from them. So this is reassuring. We've also already been in this channel for about 3 weeks, and channels don't usually last much longer than that, especially on local scales. So I would expect this to break upwards relatively soon. If it doesn't, again, I would be shocked. And again, the fact that I would be shocked there would be justification for me to be de-risking from the markets. That's why I say that this $110,000 level really, really matters. We cannot lose it. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be a bear market trigger, but it really wouldn't be good. As for general Bitcoin broader market triggers, like trigger points that would give Bitcoin the fuel it needs to break upwards, I'm looking at the 2-week chart RSI. I've got a very clean triangle formation on the 2-week chart RSI going right backwards from the start of 2023. You can see perfect retests on the bottom side and the top side. If we break that level to the upside or the downside, that in my view would give perfect justification for either an upside or downside move. Let's pray that breaks to the upside. Very similar thing can be said about the Ethereum chart. We've got a monthly chart, RSI triangle, going backwards from 2019, even older than the one on the Bitcoin chart on an even bigger time frame. If this breaks upwards, that's absolutely phenomenal. That would be a continuation upwards on Ethereum, which, by the way, is already outperforming the market massively. Ethereum is doing much better than Bitcoin and much better than altcoins right now. We look at the Ethereum BTC chart, we see a momentum shift to the upside, breaking above levels we haven't seen broken since 2021. We see a ascending triangle formation breaking to the upside as well, going straight into major resistance here, but it's doing very, very well. You know, in the time that the Ethereum BTC chart has basically doubled, we've seen Bitcoin dominance only go downwards basically 5%. So that just shows you the difference between altcoin performance and Ethereum performance here. Ethereum is carrying. But overall, even Ethereum, while it's been carrying the market and doing very, very well and being the center of attention, even Ethereum is at a blockade here. It's at a blockade by this descending resistance line in white on the price chart and on the RSI. And it is literally waiting for Bitcoin to make the next move. It is really Bitcoin that will determine what happens to the market here. If Bitcoin breaks upwards above the levels it needs to break upwards, whether it be the short-term channel and 124,000 or to the downside at 110,000, that will determine what happens to Ethereum, what happens to altcoins as well. If we do see a break on Bitcoin to the upside, I would expect an Ethereum continuation. But Ethereum will get to the point where it's overheated, and that money will logically trickle down into altcoins afterwards. We just need to see Bitcoin lead the way. So a lot of recapping in this video, barely any new information coming in. There's not much new things to talk about, unfortunately, but you need to understand the levels that matters, and I hope in this video I've made them very, very clear. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you want to hear me discuss in the meantime while we wait for a market movement. But obviously, I'll let you know if anything big happens via a YouTube video. So subscribe, leave a like, comment, and also check out the Bitunix Exchange. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global, it's non-KYC, it's never been hacked before, it's got all of the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers.